mean, a bank is just capital and software. That's all it is. It's just people, money, and code.
The US government stepping in and saying that Anthropic should cease and desist, basically.
There will be two types of countries, one that will be token exporters and ones that will be token importers.
People aren't asking if they need AI anymore. Everyone's asking, how do you start?
Episode 4 of the Assembly Line podcast. And we've got a very, very special guest. Mr. Lott, can I have a hug?
First and foremost,
Welcome back.
I don't feel like a guest.
Welcome back. Welcoming Mr. Lott, Mr. Lott Chidawaya. Nick, nice to have you with us remotely. And hi to all the people, all 37 people that are listening. Really good to have you. Good to have you back in the country.
Was that okay?
And so, Lott, we're going to kick off and I want to, share with the people a bit about you. You've got an extensive background running Africa's biggest cloud practice. We can say that. And I think maybe if we can ask you just to tell us a bit about where you come from.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some of the Snowflake Summit stuff. But it's nice to see you.
No. What's happening? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all our viewers and listeners. Very, very special warm welcome, Nick, Dimitri. What's happening, gents? It's good to see you. I've been behind the scenes for this podcast for quite some time, and there's a special man behind the cameras who's here week in, week out, making sure you guys get this content. Very special. Thanks to all the work that he puts in.
Producer Tom.
Yeah, it's all love, baby. It's all love. No, it's good to be back, son of the soil. So, when you leave for some time, you feel torn, but it's good to be back in Africa. What was the question, D?
Who are you?
Lots here to those who don't know me.
No interviews.
This is very calm. It's 7-8 months now since I've joined the organization. Practically 7 or 8 months. It feels like 7 or 8 years. Kind of landed and felt up because of part of the furniture. So very, very natural setting. But yeah, Lott Chidawaya. I'm responsible for client engagements at Pygio. That's everything from lead generation through to making sure that they sign a delivery acceptance criteria note and post. So it's a lot of client engagements on a daily basis, preferably in person, even now post-COVID. And I come from an organization, a small IT firm, the smallest on the continent. And they were kind enough. I joined as a grad, really took me in, kind of gave me exposure to quite a bit. And by God's grace, I was able to climb the ranks quite quickly. Eventually, by the time I left, I was responsible for the cloud practice. Started being more specifically focused on and responsible for the number, like how organizations go. So quite a bit happened. And by the time I left, looking at about a R500 million business across the likes of pre-sales, sales, engineering, delivery, and the whole like. So I've always been fascinated, and I've always been keen on trying to solve problems, really more specifically. And after doing networking, LAN, WAN, infrastructure, cloud for the later parts of my career, you can't ignore AI. So it figured out as the next problem to solve, and that's how I find myself here today.
And if you weren't doing this, if you weren't doing tech, what would you be doing?
It's an unfair question because I feel like you know the answer.
Well, I have a sense, but I don't know
Yeah.
that. I don't know the true answer.
Not genuinely be a farmer. Son of the soil, like I said. Just yesterday I was actually on a farm, so I would be tilling and working the land.
So it's a good goal to work towards.
Yeah, that's me.
Maybe AI makes us all redundant, and then we go back to working with the
I mean, that's
with
the
livestock and with
ambitious reality,
yeah.
right? So we're in a third world country, but yeah, perhaps one day.
What about agriculture interests you so much?
I think Africa as a whole was once seen as the breadbasket of the world. Now we import quite a lot, be it wheat, maize, and the likes. As Africa, we've also got a host of problems, and I just believe that agriculture is one of the contributing factors to alleviate poverty, be it job creation, and just making sure that every child goes to bed and doesn't go to bed hungry. So I think that's what fascinates me the most about agriculture, just the endless possibility of the problems that it can solve.
It's a very it's a human problem, but it's a political it's a political world out them as well.
Yeah.
This is not a political kind of, forum, but do you think there's a space for tech and AI specifically in the world of agriculture?
No, 100%. I mean, fortunate enough to have attended NAMPO this year, about a month or two back.
What
And
is that?
we're looking at the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere. Right. So, yeah, they did break a record, the most Hiluxes in one place. Guinness World Book of Records record. Yeah, yeah. Helicopters, jets, everything, you name it. But if you look at the world of agriculture and where we are, where we're going, very, very progressive. To date, lots of people are using drones already. Out of Australia, and if you look at some of the big brands, be it Massey Ferguson or John Deere, for quite some time now, they've had autonomous tractors. So tractors are being built and they actually look like drones. They don't have a space for a human to sit on anymore. And you're being able to see, tractors coming and tilling and working the land without a human being present. And I think that filters down into everything that happens inside of the space, be it if you're looking at sensors, farm management. I think the goal is how can I run an entire farm end to end and not be there physically? So being able to kind of play Sims on your phone, turn things on, turn things off, water your plants, check the sensors to check the soil temperature and moisture. And yeah, that's the world we're working towards. It's not one of those infinite realities. It's not an episode of a movie somewhere. It's an actual reality. We're seeing this technology now. It's here today.
It's atoms, yeah. It's atoms and moving things around.
100%.
As data, it's a lot of telemetry data.
At the end of the day.
And these systems on the farms are all being automated, I'd imagine, a lot more overseas, but increasingly here as well.
Naturally, there are definitely barriers to entry. Cost being one of the highest ones, and then African problems, right? So we talk about jobs being an actual issue, but then the introduction of the AI and automation, does that really then mean that people have more time to do higher decision working tasks? So when you look at that in the farming context, how can we have AI help people make better decisions, not necessarily get rid of the workforce?
It's interesting. Well, there's work to be done. We'll tackle one problem at a time.
Naturally, right?
And just a question, Lott. I mean, so given a farm, that utopian vision of a farm, you can automate and you can run everything from your phone. If Elon's vision of UBO was a thing, universal basic sort of UBI was a thing, and you didn't have to work, I don't suppose that's how you would actually want to run a farm. Though you would actually want to be on the farm. You would want to be there with all of the workers. You'd want to be tilling the land yourself. I mean, it's almost like it's a calling. It's like a very purpose-driven thing, right? So I mean, given all of the tech in the world, I mean, I don't necessarily think that farmers would just get in their Hilux and drive to the city. So I mean, given that's the fact, and I mean, obviously, being a very purpose-driven person, I wanted to ask you the question of, specifically how you got to us, how you got into the world of AI, how, what about Pygio drew you in? I mean, again, speaking about Africa and enabling it with software and data and AI. I mean, maybe why don't you tell us your journey and your foray into AI?
So it's interesting, Nick, because even if universal basic income was a thing, people would still need to eat, right? And some people need to make sure that does happen. And if I go back to one of the points I made earlier with Africa being the breadbasket of the world, I guess the dream and the vision and what we're seeing already, we know quite a few farmers who are exporting on a daily basis, be it fresh produce and the likes of flowers, fruit, or lamb to the likes of Saudi, China, the US, Australia, Brazil. There's quite a lot that's leaving the continent already. We in this country don't consume our A grade. So I guess to answer your initial question, if UBI was a thing, tilling the land, yes, but then someone needs to manage those stakeholders and you need to go and find a market elsewhere and be able to have your cogs in ZAR, but earn USD or dirhams or pounds. So that's one thing to work towards. And I guess just maybe to touch on something that I did mention now, I've always been interested in problem solving. So you work through the different technologies, you get to a point, okay, you kind of understand cloud. AI comes, lots of hype. And then I realized through the introduction of Dimitri here that there is this massive problem called AI. It presents itself as a problem and an opportunity. Problem because lots of organizations are trying and it's failing. I'm working for quite a large organization and we throwing the word around, but there's not always very much substance to it. And you speak to quite a few organizations in the country, the biggest consulting houses, the massive hyperscalers. Everyone's talking AI, and we've all got PowerPoints and PDFs that we've downloaded that people have created elsewhere, away from the continent. And very few people are doing something very practical and tangible. And I remember it's an evening, I think Dimitri and I have not been speaking for too long, and he whiteboards some of the IP. At the point is somewhat an idea, but he draws out exactly this assembly and everything Pygio is working towards. And I think at that moment, on that day, in that session, that's when I realized that there's a massive problem to solve. And I thought I understood what that problem was, but all you did was open my eyes to how big it really is. And being able to contribute towards AI being practically implemented in this country, on this continent, is what gets me excited about it. And very few organizations doing the manual work, doing the hard work, doing the plumbing, I think is something that Nick refers to quite a bit, and I'm sure he said on this podcast as well. The actual plumbing of AI and making it and turning it into reality. And that's how I then find myself here.
I remember that day. We sat in the office till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, I'd never heard of what a semantic layer or ontology was. And
We were both falling asleep, but also like so awake.
yeah.
And what is your vision, I suppose, for like if you see in the next 5 years? I mean, your vision for the enterprise. How do we actually get there? Because I acknowledge that there's where we're at now, and then the future ready state of an AI enterprise.
Yeah,
And I think so. To analogize, cloud is now being adopted
100%.
effectively. It's being managed. There's teams, there's COEs that run them.
Yeah.
The costs, the commerciality of cloud is now understood.
Yeah.
Not always well maintained, but we're there. There's a maturity, there's a matrix, there's a formula around it. We're nowhere near that with AI agents, but we can build it, right? So how do you see that? What do you see in the next 5 years, particularly in an African context?
There's a host of problems that need to be solved. So without getting too caught up on and hung up on the tech, I think there's a massive technological advancements that have happened throughout our lifetime that have really changed and redirected the future of of mankind, be it the introduction of the internet, like we saw. And now I really do believe that AI is one of those kind of leaps or bounds that we've taken as a human race. You think about the ChatGPT moment, November 2022. Going forward, it's less about the technology, more the problems we're solving. And that's what becomes very, very exciting, because you don't want to get hung up on the technology and just try push AI. It's not about the organization that has the most AI inside their company. I really do believe that it's about the organizations that are solving business problems in the right way. And AI isn't always the answer. So at an enterprise level, what gets exciting is between now and perhaps 2030 or 2035, 2040. Let's look at different milestones and then starting to see who's building for the future, who is doing the hard yards, doing the dirty work now to make sure that they're still relevant in the future and they still exist. Because who knows?
I mean, what is an actual, okay, so understanding your business problem is what are the vectors of change is like kind of what you're getting at, like everywhere from the board level and then
All the way down.
permeating down.
Correct.
Is it a people transformation? Is it a technological transformation? Because tech moves a lot faster than people adoption and culture.
Naturally. So
So the AI enterprise of 5 years, what is the DNA of that entity look like?
I think it's all of those things. It's definitely people, processes, and technology, and how all three of those, how an organization is able to structure itself in a way that those transform. So the introduction of AI needs to be done in a very sustainable way, in a governed way. And we need to move away from just POVs to actual real execution and workflow optimization. So if AI has been introduced into the company, but no one's workflow has changed, then I don't think that's successful AI. So if you look across the people that are in the organization, the tasks that they're performing on a daily to day basis, the processes that they take, be it a finance function, a marketing function, or a sales function, and then the actual technology, all three of those need to move in a direction that actually turns that company into a bit of a weapon in its particular industry.
Maybe just to kind of go back into your role at Pygio.
Yeah.
You're a CRO. How do you think about scaling a team of like a go-to-market team, a team of sellers, but we play around with this idea of FTEs. What is your view on that? How are you intending to build this out?
So I think the first answer is because of how new AI is, we were going to struggle to find human beings that understand the technology, but you won't struggle to find people that are hungry. So you get the right people on board, and then we can always learn in the tech. We have a strong, we started an interview today, and we speak about customer centricity, customer obsession, unreasonable hospitality. So it's more, how do we delight our customers with our services? You only start to talk services once you understand the root cause of the problem. No human being is going to share their real problems with you unless the relationship is there. But you also have to be able to have the skills and the expertise behind you to actually go and deliver on that. So it's a myriad of things, but it's around building this ecosystem around an organization where you understand how value flows through their business. You understand how they make money. You understand how money flows through their business. And once you start to put those pieces together, that's where you can start to see, okay, how does technology come? So when you look at scaling a team, I'm indifferent to the title you give the human being. When we have to scale up a team to actually deliver, I'm indifferent to the title you give that person. What's more important for me is, does this person care? Are they going to come in and spend an unreasonable amount of time with their customer and be demanding? Because out of sight, out of mind, right? So if you're not there, if the customer's not thinking about you, we're not going to actually be able to understand what their problems are, which means you can't solve them. And then if you look at scaling that and growing and progressing, it's less about us and more about them. So people with the right mindset to come in and actually be agents of change and to represent the brand, what we stand for, understand our values and our purpose, and make sure that when they're out there, they carry that with them.
But it's you've described something very difficult to scale. Like you've described the universal soldier.
100%.
So you've got two options. One, you find these people.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult to do. Or you build these people.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of time. But the demand is here right now.
Correct.
So how do you think about what is that stopgap? I mean, how do you want to take people that are in an engineering function and teach them, softer skills? Or what does that look like for you? Or do you want to take hungry sellers, and then train them on the tech? Just maybe a bit harder to do. I mean, what is your views?
So you're 100% correct. The unicorns don't exist. So I think a bit of both where it makes sense. It also then becomes very, very people dependent, depending on where we are, where we're seeing the growth opportunities and which customers we're engaging with. Some customers really, the relationship leads the engagement and some technical prowess does. So hiring accordingly at the point that you're at that point in time. I think that's how we balance it out. So you'll need a combination of all of these different people to really build an ecosystem where we are agents of change and we are the preferred AI enablement company in Africa.
So it's not just one profile. It's
Definitely not.
Your eyes were closing a bit earlier. You've just come back from Summit. Let's jump into some of your travels. How was Snowflake Summit? I think first and foremost, how's the US?
Yeah.
And how's San Francisco? Because we sit at the bottom tip of Africa. Some of us in the Middle East, far away from that time zone. They're in a different world. You tell us, what was your experience like in San Fran?
So I've been privileged enough to travel quite a bit of the US. So I understand how the East Coast and the West Coast, I thought I understood how the West Coast was set up. This was my first time in San Fran, and it's extremely eye-opening, very, very unexpected. It feels like an island on Earth. It's its own bubble, it's its own place. The Bay Area and city center is just different. If you think about technological advancements, it really does feel like it's removed from Earth and aliens exist there. Only because you think of the concept of an autonomous car, right, or a car a driverless car, and then you see it and you enter one. You're really putting your life and trusting yourself with these things. And I think a lot of this technology is easy to somewhat imagine and see on a YouTube video, but then to experience and to be a part of is a completely different experience.
Like what?
Like getting in the back of a Waymo and actually sitting in the car and trusting and seeing another vehicle driving towards you and clenching, but you're safe, right? And you're gonna be okay. That's quite mind blowing. And then pulling out your phone every time you see a billboard because you can't believe that the norm there, like they're not advertising sugar and insurance, guys. It's every single billboard has something to do with AI. Just it's a completely different world. So when you're interacting with these technologies, go for it, Nick.
No, some crazy startup or some AI business.
It's just different. It's just completely different, and it's unexpected. You can't prepare yourself for that level of commitment in the media space or in broadcasting. AI isn't a buzzword in San Fran. It's genuinely a way of life. Privileged enough to have gone and spent some time down in San Jose. So visited Google's campus, visited Apple's campus. It's the weekend, but these places are open and open to the public. And you really get to interact with, some next level technology. Just different.
What was your highlight of San Fran?
The people, very weird to say, especially in a tech forward city. But what's the reason why I was there specifically, like you've mentioned, was for Snowflake Summit. The meeting of minds is just different. You've got every expert of every field gathered in one place to discuss one thing. It's just completely different. So 100%, my highlight of the city and the town and the experience was the people.
And before you tell us how Summit actually was, what was your expectation going in? So what were you expecting to see? Companies, updates, people?
This wasn't my first international conference. I've attended quite a few of these things in different parts of the world. So you have a natural expectation, right? Because they all somewhat mirror each other. And yes, while Snowflake Summit did mirror it, my expectation was standard. Let's just go watch the sessions, be a part, consume it all, take it in. But Snowflake, what they're doing, where they are, where they're going, mind blowing. So the reality of the experience really just blew my expectations out of the water.
And tell us how was it? Tell us about the experience.
Apart from the fact that you spend the day in deep conversation and actually solving some of the problems we have here in Africa with people who have solved the problems before in other parts of the world, and being able to absorb all that content in. So very, very rich experience during the day.
Packed agenda.
I was fortunate enough to travel with a customer. I won't mention who. I think in a couple of months' time, there will be big headlines about Pygio and this organization because the problems we're solving have never been solved before on the continent. What we're building has never been done before. But we've co-created this solution to really change the narrative of not just the way money flows in this country, but just to change the narrative of the continent. I can't give too much details, and I'd really love to.
Sure, we'll do it another one.
Yeah, it's a few months away. But what's most important about the entire experience is very, very jam-packed during the day, sessions, workshops, but all of this is planned, right? So we have attended conferences in the past, the focus was on attending sessions and a bit of customer entertainment and just being present. This time it was so intentional that you just have light bulb moments coming out of every meeting, right? And being able to see how we can take some of that innovation and use it here and put that towards the solution that we're building really does just change where we're going. And I speak about the narrative and the fabric of what it is that we're building. It's real. I really can't wait to share it with everyone here. And after, once the sun goes down, that's when you really see the deals being closed. And um,
The cigar lounges.
it's different. It's very, very different. You think the cozy breakfast in the morning with some of the top executives is special. No, no, no. I'm fortunate enough to overlook sunset, one of the tallest buildings in San Fran at the top of the hill. Was in a room,
The pyramid one.
very close.
Okay, yeah.
I was in a room with the founders of Snowflake. Got to actually meet them, and they took time to understand who I was, who's Pygio. They showed very, very genuine and keen interest. I will share a picture with you guys. And I think just that experience on itself, there must have been at least 14 billionaires in the room. It's different. You're rubbing shoulders with the who's who. And I mean, this is dollar billionaires. So the evening's even more fascinating than during the day. So it's just mind blowing end to end throughout. And then you wake up the next morning and you get to do it all over again. So Nick, Dimitri, like start packing next year. We're all going. It's a no-brainer.
And maybe just summarize for us what was the key theme? What was the key message that Snowflake, like, what was the one thing that they were hammering this year?
So I think we've spoken about what Snowflake is and the purpose of Snowflake. More importantly, everyone is throwing around this word AI. And I'm going to start here at home before I answer that question. The one thing that's exciting about where we stand today is that people aren't asking if they need AI anymore. Everyone's asking, how do we start? How do we get there? What needs to be done today? And we're moving from, hype and these pipe dreams into execution. And we're putting that into reality. And Snowflake is a foundation that does that. So at Summit, the key themes, Nick, were exactly, and before I get there, one of the keynotes that Sridhar, the CEO of Snowflake, did, he had a discussion with the co-founder and CEO of Anthropic. AI isn't just a buzzword. It's very real. And from an execution standpoint, Snowflake is a foundation that's going to enable that. So Anthropic being a very, very close partner to Snowflake, Maya, if you think about Matillion, look at DBT, there's a host of technologies that create the ecosystem that enable AI. The biggest theme is AI, even at an enterprise data warehouse conference. Everyone was talking, thinking AI, but more specifically in their spaces. We've all stopped to acknowledge that some of the large language models, and if you're querying ChatGPT or Claude today, they have slowed down, right? Because the more these models are learning, the slower they get. So people are starting to talk about small language models and how, be it OpenAI or Anthropic, can come into an organization and empower you with a small language model. So a lot of AI and just a lot of how do we make this tech relevant in our industry specifically, because it's not just about adopting one of them, right? There's a lot of work that goes into making it real.
And those SLMs, the small language models, do you think that, basically what you're saying is the ecosystem around the large language model, frontier model providers is dependent, their success dependent on the ecosystem underneath them, which is Snowflake, Matillion, the likes of Fivetran, DBT, Databricks, all of these, Fabric, Google Redshift, like Bedrock, all of these other foundational platforms. You're saying that the success of the LLM, the frontier models, is dependent on these guys.
Well, 100%. It's not going to work. They're not going to be successful on their own. So much so that we had a conversation with OpenAI and actually one of the individuals from the Anthropic team. And the whole chat was around how we could have a consultative engagement with them. And I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of the organization that I was there with, not just Pygio, Pygio's actual customer. And they speak about minimum commitments, right? So you're looking at about $250,000 that you have to commit upfront to be able to get a consultative engagement with them, but you're committing to that consumption. Now, I think those are credits that we could really smash. It's not much. But then you get a dedicated person from OpenAI or from Anthropic that's here and they're going to drive that change. Now, we know that neither OpenAI or Anthropic have a presence in South Africa yet. And the conversation now going forward is, what does that partnership look like? And how can we become an extension of their team eventually here in Africa?
So it's so interesting because what you've just described is this FDE model,
Correct.
which we've spoken about, basically building out the practice in our business.
Yeah.
And we see like some of our key principal engineers, they are effectively FDEs and they're actually doing more of a customer engagement function. But you also see these big tech platforms kind of creeping into the SI space. It starts with, oh, we'll give you credits, and then it's like, we'll give you a resource.
Yeah, as an engineer.
And then all of a sudden, like, your customers doing business directly with these guys.
Yeah.
Which sometimes you love, you want that support.
Yeah.
But sometimes they can be
You step on your toes.
yeah, exactly.
900%.
We love the OEMs. We love Snowflake. Just quick side note. I mean, did you smoke any weed in San Francisco?
Not my portion in this life, perhaps in another life, but no.
It is. Is it like you see it? Like, I mean, you smell it all over the place.
No, so I mean, while San Fran is an island and it feels like aliens, you leave Africa and you look at, the duality of, you've got the M1 highway that separates Alex and Santon, and you think about the iconic photo. I think it was on the cover of maybe Times or Forbes a couple of years back, that has a really plush suburb on the one side and our traditional squatter camps and township areas here in South Africa. And it just speaks to the difference in life and how vast the difference in life in South Africa is. Guys, San Fran's next level. It's not a wall or a highway separating you. You're stepping out of your $14 million penthouse and there's like crackheads and people that are on drugs.
Yeah, it's
Guys
sad.
just step out. Quite a lot of, there's a big homelessness problem. And what's sad is the level of drug abuse. Quite a few programs to reduce the homelessness, but we spoke about this quite a bit around alcohol allowances that are being introduced. So San Fran does have a big homeless problem, and they also do have a big drug problem. So it's 2 p.m., be it 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. There's people loitering in the streets, and it's very, very sad to see. I think they've got their own kind of problems that they need to deal with.
I mean, I was there, and Nick and I was there 22, 23, and like one of the first like welcome messages we got, arrive at our Airbnb, have a quick shower and outside, we're gonna go get lunch.
Yeah.
Walk outside, there's a guy smoking a crack pipe next to us, and then another guy on the other side of the road defecating himself. It was crazy. Like, I was like,
It's different.
this is alien for different reasons.
Yeah, it's very different.
And we were in city center. It was the craziest thing.
It's really unexpected, because you leave Africa and you think, okay, cool, let's go to the first world. But I think poverty is a very real thing. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots, even inside of these spaces, is also extremely big.
And Lott, I mean, maybe just on that question. So I think there's Summit, which is, for all intents and purposes, the show that Snowflake will put on for you, and it's all of the conferences, the keynote speakers, the breakaway workshops, all of that. But then there's the in between, right? Like, all of the other companies that are there, the representation of the ecosystem, right? So both clients, partners. But of the clients and partners, what was that representation? I mean, now that we're on the African continent, what did that look like, right? Like, when you were rubbing shoulders with people, I mean, generally, where were they from? What did that representation look like?
So spent quite a bit of time with a lot of the Americans. I think majority of the people there were definitely American, quite a big contingent from Europe, and also a very strong show of force from the Middle East, which is quite exciting to see. From Africa itself, there's quite a few people. What was exciting and what stood out about it, Nick, is that we're all in a similar boat. A lot of the problems that we need to solve haven't been solved yet, be it in the different parts of the world. And Africa has a seat at that table. So it doesn't matter where we are. I mean, if you think about a retail organization right now, we speak about technology and leapfrogging. Africa, we can have the opportunity now. AI has opened up that opportunity for us to be able to leapfrog, which means being able to, a retailer in South Africa, there's nothing that separates them from a retailer in London. And that's a gap that it starts to close. And that comes to mind now, Nick, because as you're rubbing shoulders with these guys and you're speaking to the NHLS, the guys that are heading up the data strategy for, the UK's national health system, the problems they're solving for are problems that are going to be very relevant here in South Africa. And I spent quite a bit of time with those guys, spent a bit of time with the guys out of the Middle East, and just fascinating conversations. And you can see that we can learn from them and they can learn from us. I think we are way ahead in some instances because of some of the because of how far back we were. We didn't have to invest in some of the infrastructure, which allowed us to leapfrog. If you think about the likes of mobile money, which is why South Africa and Africa's banking system is quite world class in comparison. And those themes carry across different industries when you're speaking to different people, and therein lies opportunity of AI.
Absolutely. I mean, I see it this side quite a bit where, there's definitely a corporate and political will to invest and to obviously modernize, but just this obsession with on-prem is like the craziest thing, and the cloud adoption in South Africa is like 5 times higher. So companies are adopting GPUs. You can actually sell and enable and switch on agents and LLMs within their business, whereas here it's like you got a capex, $5 million worth of GPUs and stand this thing up in an on-prem data center. It's craziness.
But that's actually a good point. I mean, this is a big debate at the moment. I mean, you've got, so kind of moving away from Summit, but the big news for the last week was the US government stepping in and saying that Anthropic should cease and desist basically for Fable, and stop offering it to any non-US citizens and everyone outside of the US. Our producer Tom's very upset about this because he was getting max productivity and like eating all our GPUs, but he's been kneecapped, and it's a crazy thing. He's like feels vulnerable now. We all do, but and the devs are freaking out, but that conversation is relevant for the companies in the Middle East, where they're saying, well, if Anthropic is now, because they said that we are now storing 30, the last 30 days worth of your prompts, and we're using those prompts and that information to train our models.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting in a country, that will never really develop their own large language model or frontier model, which there's only probably a handful of 3 to 5 countries that have the capital base to do it. So the rest of the world's saying, well, we want to host our own models. We want open source. So is it actually a bad thing? I mean, this is a conversation that is happening at every board, discussion at the banks. I mean, Nick, maybe you share a bit of your view on this. Like, is this going to change? Are we all going to go cloud and use the frontier models end to end, or is it going to be some blend? And is that an opportunity for companies to actually say, okay, well, we can create this infrastructure between on-prem and given that it's not going away, and then a cloud-based kind of AI consumptive model?
I mean, I think this speaks to, I mean, and you see the analogy happening in cloud at the moment, where a lot of large enterprises are actually spinning up their own data centers, right? And I think that's for control, it's for privacy, it's for security, it's for cost. I think so I think the pendulum in across a lot of these platform shifts does swing in the opposite direction. If you look at what happened with Fable, I think there were a couple of things. To your point, they were like monitoring everyone's prompts, so both the files that you had sent in as well as the response, irrespective of if you had signed an enterprise agreement, a data privacy agreement, right? So, and obviously this was just for Fable 5. So as a large enterprise, you had the ability to move down the stack and use like Sonnet or Opus. I think that was the first thing. What was worse, what they were doing was they were selectively rate limiting certain users. So if you had prompted it, I think there were specific topics or like safeguards that they had put in place.
If you were doing frontier development research,
Yeah, so it was Frontier ML Research, which we were actually working on a project because the afternoon that we got access for it, we were doing product development, and we asked it to do research on a specific product spec and to almost build a TRD. And we actually saw it in real time downgrade us to Opus 4.8. So I think it was Frontier Research. It was like anything to do with computational biology, or, if guys want to do, maybe make like a bio bomb, or there were a couple other topics, which, coming back to the core theme of what you were asking about, as a country, it's actually almost become like a matter of national security to have your own AI, or rather sovereign AI. There was a very good talk that the All In Pod gave, and something that one of them said was, there will be two types of countries: one that will be token exporters and ones that will be token importers. Yeah. Right. And I think it is of national importance and security to be a net exporter. To answer the question, coming back to like small models, we hear it and we see it all the time from our customers, where you go to them, you'll do an implementation of a data platform, you'll demo an agent to them, and they'll say to you, okay, well, which of the agents, which foundation model can I deploy within my Snowflake environment? And you say, well, which ones do you want? And they'll often give you a laundry list, right? So companies will always want optionality. Companies will always want control. They'll always want to be able to secure their data, and privacy is obviously super important for them. As it is for cloud, doing something hybrid, I think the same will exist. And we're seeing that play out quite nicely with a lot of the data platforms. So obviously both Snowflake, Databricks, you can deploy both frontier models. You can have Opus 4.8 running locally within your Snowflake environment, hosted within your Snowflake environment, where your data is. Or, you can say, well, I think it's too expensive and I'll self-host my own SLM, fine-tuned SLM within that environment. And I think this whole Fable 5 debacle of the frontier labs deciding who gets to get frontier intelligence will accelerate that. I think companies will wake up eventually. I mean, there was huge backlash on X over the weekend. Everyone's basically saying, well, no, I'm not going to use them. And they're pretty much, they'll become a kingmaker, right? They can. I mean, as a company, it almost makes sense to go to them and say, well, here's 50% of the equity in this idea. Give me access to the best model and let me beat all of my competitors in a particular industry.
And rate limit them.
Yeah.
And rate limit the competitors, right? And it's obviously there's all these questions of being anti-competitive in the States about the frontier ML research. I mean, if you've got all these startups that are depending and paying for a product that you're saying you're delivering, and on the back end they're secretly rate limiting you and they're downgrading you, and you're still paying for those tokens.
I mean, it's fraud.
Yeah.
It's fraud. It is fraud.
Yeah, but who's the regulator that's going to come in?
Well, this is what they want. They want Anthropic and OpenAI. They want to be regulated so that they can basically draw up the drawstrings of the bridge.
Yeah.
For no one else to be able to come and compete against them. But then that's got other problems, because then they can control what the consumer. You've got data privacy problems. You've got
data residence.
I mean, it's a monopolistic kind of issue.
Nick, maybe just off the back of that, I mean, if you bring the entire conversation back home, you look at a lot of the financial services and organizations and telecommunications. I think those have probably been the two biggest adopters of AI across Middle East and Africa so far till date. What does a restriction, I mean, to the layman, to the CMO or to the CFO, what does a restriction of Fable actually mean for the organization? If we speak so much and so heavily with so much conviction about the importance of AI going forward, these the likes of Anthropic and OpenAI are holding back on some of the latest and greatest tech that they have for us. What does that mean to us on a day-to-day?
I mean, there's so much, I mean, to that answer. I think, specifically financial services and telco, those are two industries which are fundamentally, software driven, right? I mean, a bank is just capital and software. That's all it is. It's just people, money, and code. That's really all a bank is in some old IBM servers sitting in someone's basement. But I think it comes back to the answer that I gave previously, which is, optionality, right? I mean, you want to have options. You want to be able to you want to have a control plane a centralized control plane within your enterprise that you can govern what AI has access to your data, how you're exporting intelligence out, building data products for your clients. So yeah, ultimately it is in that optionality, I would say is the most important thing. OpenAI decides to release the next best model, you're going to switch over to that tomorrow, and then Anthropic will leapfrog them, and then you'll have Grok, and then you'll have Gemini. It's anyone's race at the moment. And then it also comes down, there are further considerations, right? And there's things like cost, and security and privacy. So, in the UAE, in-country cloud is very important. I mean, you've got, GDPR as data privacy sort of regulation. A lot of countries, or highly regulated industries in most countries, won't even allow for data to leave, right? So you'll need sovereign in-country data centers with GPUs hosting models. And, you said it yourself, the foundation models don't have representation in Africa, right? So do they have servers? I mean, if you use the Claude or OpenAI API, that's all going to a server either in West Europe or Eastern North America somewhere, right? That's not going on African soil, which again, I think it comes back to the question of national security. I actually do believe that eventually this will become a matter of national security, and you'll have strategic alliances and partnerships at the geopolitical level, most likely, of countries talking about doing massive data center build-outs and having public-private partnerships. I mean, look at Stargate, in the UAE, where they're building the biggest data center in the Middle East. I mean, that was the US government partnering with 4 of the big labs. I mean, OpenAI obviously led it, but that was a strategic alliance between the US government and obviously in having redundancy of compute elsewhere. And obviously there's a big capital flow that takes place. But for the UAE, I mean, they've got access to frontier intelligence. As a country, that literally will make you so much better. I mean, Tom went from an IQ 300 designer to an IQ 40. It's like that bell curve where you've got like the caveman on the left. He went from like the Jedi to the caveman in like 5 minutes when Dario pulled back the API. It's like you can't be at risk of that. So, I mean, there are, at the technical level, there'll always be solutions. There are companies that have solved this problem. I mean, if you look, open source, Hugging Face have developed an ensemble of frontier models which already outperforms Fable. Right, I think it's like OpenGLM 5.2, and they've literally deployed it a week after. So, and again, that speaks to bringing all of the best models and having choice. Right, so I think optionality is very, very underappreciated. Build a very open data control plane. Bring all of your data to one place. Centrally deploy AI and make sure that you've got maximum optionality.
Jensen, I mean, if you look at it, if you take a step back, we go back to the regulation conversation. How are you actually, when we're engaging with customers, how are you inspiring confidence in them? I mean, more specifically in South Africa, not about a month or two ago, we saw an AI policy being released and then being redacted. Who is going to regulate AI in this continent, in this country, if we can't even trust the actual government bodies that are supposed to be implementing the correct policies? What's the way forward for us?
I think it's very difficult for governments to regulate. The smartest people, are not sitting and thinking about regulation. They're actually building. So that's step one. Is often the well-intentioned people in government don't have the technical resources to actually understand. Like, to be able to regulate, I think you need to understand what the technology is and then where it's going. So I think that's a gap, I think, globally, because I think if you think even the US, Europe, they don't have the data scientists, the researchers, the AI engineers in government actually advising. So I think there's that problem, that informed policy, it starts with informed policy. So then they would have to reach out to the private sector trusted actors. You're going to say who's trusted. It comes to the second, because now they're going to say, okay, well, let's go to Anthropic, go to Dario. He knows what he's talking about, but he's talking his book.
He needs to be regulated.
Yeah. So this is the problem. So it's like it's a big chicken and egg problem that governments have, and I think Nick's touched on it. Where does the value accrue? If people, and even in America, this is happening. People are feeling disenfranchised.
Yeah.
There's all of these AI kingpins that are making a lot of money. Elon just became a trillionaire. Like, that's unheard of. You've got a lot of people making in Silicon Valley specifically making a lot of money out of AI. And then you've got the population that feels disenfranchised, and then there's this narrative that AI is going to take their jobs, which we've spoken about many times. And so how does the government think about where does that value accrue to the people, and how do you democratize that kind of value? How do you use AI as an enabling force for upliftment? As we come full circle back to the beginning of the conversation, if we had UBI, how does AI become a force for good to farmers,
100%.
to workers, to construction workers,
Miners.
And that's a very difficult philosophical. I can't tell you. I don't know how governments are going to solve it. But I believe in the free market. I think that people will select the best product and choice for them. And if something is like kind of feels like if a product feels like it's playing a game with you, people are smart enough to know that there's a better product out there.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I don't know the answer, but
I mean, I think the Africa versus the US, or rather, I think regulation in Africa versus the US are two different things. So going back to the analogy of like token exporters versus token importers, Africa's a net token importer, right? I mean, we don't have any foundation models, labs on our soil. Probably a lot of reasons for that. Probably like skills density, I think capital. I mean, if you look at what it takes to build one of these LLMs, I mean, OpenAI raised $120 billion in their last round. I mean, that's just one round. So it's like it's insanely capital intensive, and there are very few companies in the world that can actually get it right. I think the regulation in the US, due to them being a token exporter, is more regulation of capability. So I think what the Biden administration were trying to do was limit specific companies. So they said if you had a training run over a specific number of flops, right, or you had a model over a specific weight count, then that model would almost need to be registered with the government. Physically impossible to do, because AI LLMs it's just software, it's just code, right? So you can make a copy of it, you can disseminate it 100,000, millions, billions of times. It's just literally it's a zip file of weights, right? So I think regulation in Africa is different, and I think the way that the AI regulation, the South African government AI regulation paper, which I didn't read the whole thing, read was more of a regulation of outcome versus regulation of capability in the US, which I think is probably equally as difficult to regulate for exactly the same reason, right? It's software, and how do you draw the distinction of, sort of as an example, one of the key things that I read was that they wanted to almost build a road accident fund equivalent for AI liability, right? So like if a human being has been harmed by AI, or something wrong has happened as a result of AI systems, there almost needs to be this public benefit fund that could pay them out. Now, I think that in theory, it's a really good idea. I mean, actuaries build these kinds of systems, and I know it's like it really does. It's a net positive benefit for society, but I think in actuality, it's very, very difficult to actually implement, number one, and measure. I mean, it's
AI accident fund. That's crazy. That's a crazy thought.
I also think it will. I think people it'll almost create some kind of like adverse behavior where people almost know that there'll be cover, so it'll make people, I don't know, somewhat lazier about the way that they deploy and govern these AI systems, because almost there's like this social safety net across the country. Right. I mean, we don't necessarily have a very litigious society in South Africa. I mean, you probably would get sued as a company for harming your customers or leaking data. But I actually don't think that it would promote the best kind of behavior for startups, because it's like, well, there's a fund, they'll pay out public liability. It's okay. Everyone will be fine at the end of the day. Whereas I don't think that that's the right thing. I don't think that promotes more mindful deployments of these systems and more governed systems. But I'm no public policy expert.
Lott, some quick fire, rapid fire questions.
Let's go.
Who is your favorite creative or artist of all time?
Of all time?
All time. I know your Spotify playlist is
an unpopular opinion. Kanye West.
That is that's controversial.
Yeah, extremely controversial. Yeah.
That's controversial. Why?
Yeah, his artistic mind is just different. I mean, very unpopular opinion. Yes, he says very controversial things, but name an artist that works harder. Name an artist successful in music, production, fashion.
Leonardo da Vinci. He's a so second one, for future generations that want to get into tech, what's one sentence of advice you'd give them?
I actually steal this from one of my old CEOs and first mentor. The one thing that's constant is change. It's as simple as that.
Just become comfortable with that.
100%. Like, don't sit here and tell me about the good old days.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, the youngsters don't have good old days. It's just they need to learn, right? One founder or CEO in Africa that you need to be watching, or the globe, everyone needs to be tracking.
In Africa? So over the past couple of months, maybe nearly a year now, there's a particular individual that I've been watching quite closely. Now, when I talk about dedication to his craft, commitment, doesn't take any breaks, doesn't sleep, and also just making strides in the industry from a tech perspective, that's really, really making a difference. I'd highly recommend everyone checks out this one gent. His name is Dimitri.
No, man.
Highly recommend.
I was going to say Strive or something. Give us no. Give us a.
Nah,
there's big boys out.
Holding the line unapologetically, guys. If you don't know him, check him out.
Cut that. Okay, well, I'm flattered. Thank you.
No, you go.
But the results are to be proven. Yeah.
Let's go. That's why I must start watching him now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Watch the space. What non-existent job today will exist in 5 years? And because of the AI way?
I think 5 years is far. With how fast AI is moving, I mean, let's just look at the next couple of months if the job doesn't exist already. But a manager of agents, perhaps? I don't think that's far away, but someone who's employed specifically just to manage agents in your business. I think that is
steward.
You mean software engineers?
But the title,
the actual title, I think on LinkedIn soon you'll be able to search for agentic manager, and that will be your job.
It's interesting. Who knows? Well, as Peter Drucker says, the future is the future. No one can predict the future. I'm going to butcher it. Only those that build. The only way to predict the future is to build it. There we go. Last question. Given that you've just been in a Waymo, would you trust a robot to nanny your kids?
No, most certainly. Because I'm unmarried, I'm probably going to have kids in the next 5 to 10 years. And I trust that in that space, technology will be at a point where we can trust robots.
5 to 10?
5 to 10. So yeah, most definitely I'll trust robots to nanny my kids.
If there's any ladies out there watching and they want timelines into Lott's life, like just 5 years time.
Listen, applications are closed. So
okay, fair enough. I'm trying to plug you.
You're good. But look, gents, I think the conversation has been robust. Dimitri, I'm going to take your job away from you now. You usually close out, Nick. I hope the weather's treating you nicely. I'm glad we're not talking about flares and alarms going off. Seems as if the situation that's how it's starting to calm down. Like, touch wood, nothing changes in the near future. To everyone listening, appreciate you making time. And I'm going to close up by saying, please, guys, like, subscribe.
Look at the
Just,
camera.
just click the button, do the right thing, do the right thing. Shout out to the man behind the camera. And yeah, until the next episode.